what's the reason you buy insurance for your business? In my experience, people generally fall into one of two categories. And these are broad, so forgive me if there's a more specific reason that you buy insurance. But in general, there's one of two reasons. One is that there's a legal or contractual requirement that you obtain insurance. A good example of this is workers' compensation. Legally, in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and almost every state, I think except for Texas, it is a law that when you have employees, you purchase workers' compensation insurance to protect against injury or illness suffered while on the job. So that's an example of one reason somebody might buy insurance, is because they are legally required to. Contractual requirement might be for a contractor. A lot of times we're seeing in contracts now a requirement to obtain pollution liability insurance. And a lot of times contractors, depending on what you're doing, there is very limited or perceived limited exposure to pollution liability. And the only reason you buy it is to fulfill the contractual requirement of obtaining it to get the job, which is kind of one of the costs of doing business. The other reason people buy insurance is because they want to transfer the risk that is inherent in operating their business to an insurance company. They understand that if there is a lawsuit or an accident or somebody makes a mistake, that the financial repercussions of doing so can be significant. And they're willing to pay that smaller premium in advance in the case that something does go wrong. They're not on the hook for that larger bill. So, I bring this up because the reason for which you're buying insurance should influence how you're buying insurance, right? If the only reason you're buying insurance is because you have a legal or contractual requirement to do so, it might make sense for you to spend as little time on it as possible. And you can go online, you can get quotes, you can kind of do it all yourself. And if you're not too worried about the actual coverage that your insurance policies have, that might be the best option for you, quick and cheap, right? However, if there is significant risk in your business, or you understand that the possibility of a lawsuit or an accident or mistakes are somewhat out of your control. There's always the possibility of being sued for something that there's no real reason that you should be sued, but you still have to defend yourself, and there are significant costs to that. I'm getting a little bit off track here, but if you're the type of person that wants to really hedge against the risk inherent in your business, and you're willing to pay the premiums of insurance to do so, then maybe it makes sense for you to find the right person who knows about your industry, who knows about the specific insurance coverage specific to your industry and the types of exposures that are common to your business, and taking the time to understand the uniqueness in your business so that a policy can be customized specifically to you. And, the thing about insurance is no two policies are exactly alike. You get two policies from the same company for the same type of risk, the same type of company. There are still differences between those. There's nothing that's absolutely cut and dry in terms of insurance coverage. So having somebody that knows your business, that understands the risks inherent to it, and that can understand what it is specifically that you do in your own terms is a valuable thing, because let's be honest, are you really taking the time to read through your policy? A lot of insurance policies are more than 100 pages long, and you often have multiple insurance policies, and it's a legal contract, so it's tough to wade through, right? Do you have an insurance agent that is actually familiar with the terms of those policies, that reads through it, that understands what exclusions are on there and can explain them to you? What about the specifics of your business? Maybe you have a pretty hefty appetite for risk, and you're financially capable of self-insuring to a degree. Are your policies customized to that, right? Do you have controls in place that help prevent the type of risk or the exposure to risk that is most common to you, and therefore, you're able to, take a higher deductible and pay less premium, right? Maybe you're investing on the front end in prevention, and you want to have a higher deductible policy to save on the back end in terms of the premium. And then if something does go wrong, you have a reserve account ready to step in and fill in that deductible should the need arise. So these are just, I don't want to run this too long, but these are just some things to think about, right? When it comes time for you to look for your insurance, whether or not you're a new business just starting up, or if you've been in business for a few years and it's time to take a look at the market. Maybe you're unhappy because you never hear from your agent, or your insurance premiums are more of a drain on resources than a supplement to them. There's a lot of reasons to look for insurance, but when you do find the need to look for new insurance coverage, think about these things, what makes sense to you, and it helps inform the process for which you go about looking for new insurance.